Shor Tov, welcome to the third Mishna. Third Mishna, first Perek. If you're looking at the art scroll, it's on page 544. But in Perek 1, Mishnah 3. Last week we left off with Shimon HaTzadik, who was the leader of the Jewish people at the time of Alexander the Great, and now we're stepping down to his students. So this is the generations of the Greek occupation, of the Greek Gauls. Antiginos ish Socho, head of the Sanhedrin. But you see, he's Antiginos, he has a Greek name. Antiginos ish Socho, kibel mishimon HaTzadik. It says, Antiginos ish Socho, kibel, he received the Torah from Shimon HaTzadik. Remember last week we said, kibel versus Masorah, that in this generation there's a loss, that he does not have the level of understanding that his teacher had. And in fact, you'll see his students will also lose, and he won't understand that they lose, and he will not make sure they have clarity on what he teaches, and their misunderstanding and potential willful misunderstanding of this Mishnah leads to a tremendous level of destruction in the Jewish world. We'll get there in a few minutes. Antiginos ish Socho, kibel mishimon HaTzadik. Hu hayomer, he used to say, Al tiyu kavadim hamshamshim et arav, al manas tekabel pras. Do not be like servants who serve their master, al manas, on the condition, right? Al manas, the kabel pras, that they receive or you receive a prize, a reward, payment, right? Eila havu kavadim hamshamshim et arav, shalo al manas tekabel pras. Rather, you should be like servants who serve their master, shalo al manas, independently of whether you receive a prize. V'chavi mor shemayim alechem, and v'vahi mor shemayim alechem, and you should let the fear of heaven should always be upon you. So he says, don't serve for the sake of a prize. You're not going to get a prize. You're not going to get a reward. But we see at the end of the second Perek, in the 21st Mishnah, we see many other places. For example, it says, Im l'madat Torah harbe, nos nim l'cha schar harbe. If you learn a lot of Torah, you're going to receive a lot of schar. So how do you balance, how do you reconcile this Mishnah that says you can't serve or should not serve for a pras, and the other Mishnah that says if you serve, you'll receive tremendous schar, as a one-for-one quid pro quo. So you have to understand the difference between pras and schar. Right? My first teacher of Avos said that the best tool you can have to understand Avos, and really any piece of Torah, is a dictionary. Is look at the language and understand exactly what it's saying. If you see that it uses a word and it could have used an alternative word, if you can understand the difference between those words, you'll have insight into what the Mishnah says. So in our Mishnah, he says pras. In the other Mishnah, it says schar. What's the difference? If I hire you for $25 an hour and you work for an hour, I owe you $25. If I think you did a great job and I want to pay you $30, that extra $5 is pras. The first $25 is schar. What you've earned, you get. Pras is a bonus. So our Mishnah says, don't serve God for the sake of a bonus. The other Mishnah say, you can demand schar. You can expect that if you learn a lot of Torah, you'll get paid a lot of schar. We see a Mishnah and Avos that say that he's trustworthy to pay you with schar. It's repeatedly told that we get schar. So what's the schar and what's the pras? What are you allowed to demand from God and what are you not allowed to demand from God? And that's going to be the essence of this Mishnah. So what's the schar when you do a mitzvah? What are you allowed to demand? The purpose of a mitzvah, the Ramchal in Derech Hashem, says when you do a mitzvah, what you're doing is a mitzvah is an action that draws you close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. It draws you close to God. It's an action that clarifies the pathway between your soul and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That an Aveira is an action that pushes you away from God, that obscures the connection, that destroys the relationship. So that we serve God in order to have an intimate and close relationship with Him. What you're not allowed to do is turn that into a financial relationship. Right? With any friendship, think of it in terms of, you can extract any relationship in terms of with a friend, with your wife, with your children. It says what you're supposed to look for is a connection. You're allowed to be close to a friend and demand that they be close to you. What you're not allowed to say is, I'll be your friend if you give me Dodger tickets. You are not allowed to say, I'll be your friend if you buy me stuff or give me stuff. You can't look at your wife and say, I will be close to you as long as you cook for me, right? I will love you as long as you give to me. You can't tell your husband, I'll love you as long as you buy me a house or buy me a car. That the relationship, when you have a relationship, it becomes financial. It's a transactional relationship. I will do for you on condition that you do for me. It means you're not interested in them. You're interested in you. You know, the guy who says, I love chicken because he likes to eat chicken, he's not interested in the chicken. He's interested in himself. When a person says, you know, I want to be connected to you for what you can give to me, then he's not interested in that other person. He's interested in himself. That a true relationship is not supposed to be transactional. What you're allowed to demand is, I will love you if you love me. Right? You're allowed to look at your friend and say, I will invest myself in you and I will be connected to you. Right? As long as you're connected to me. But it's not to ask for stuff. So the relationship, which you're allowed to demand when you do a mitzvah, the purpose of a mitzvah is it's an action, a physical action with a spiritual component that connects your soul to Hashem, that makes you intimately connected to Him. And that you're allowed to demand. You're allowed to say, God, I will do this mitzvah if you make it connect me to you, if you give me insight into you, if you draw my soul close to you, if you elevate me, if you move me spiritually forward so that I'm connected to you. That you're allowed to demand. What you're not allowed to demand is a bonus. That bonus is you can't say, God, I'll do mitzvahs if you make me healthy. God, I'll do mitzvahs if you find me a wife. I'll do mitzvahs if you give me money. But if I don't get money, I'm out of here. If I'm poor, I'm out of here. If I hurt, I'm out of here. If my feet are sore, I'm out of here. There's no guarantee when you build merits, there's no guarantee that a mitzvah will draw a reward, not a physical reward of this world, right? It's not a celestial, vending machine. I put in a mincha and I get out money. I put in a mincha and I get out some other perk. It's not a transactional relationship. There's no guarantee that just because you're righteous, your life will be simple. There's no guarantee that just because you're righteous, because you do the right thing, that you'll have everything that you need or everything that you want, right? Hashem has created you in such a way that, you see in the bracha, right? Brei nafashot, that God created you with those things that you lack. It's one of the brachas we say one of the most important brachas is, thank God you created me lacking, but you've created everything in your world necessary to fulfill those gaps, right? You don't always get what you want easily. God doesn't promise that. He does promise, though, that you'll have schar, that you'll be connected to Him. So the students of Antiginos misunderstood that, or they wanted to misunderstand that. They said, there's no reward, there's no guarantee. So what is in Avos Natan, it says, they looked at the world and said, if God doesn't promise us a reward, we'll take a reward ourselves. It says, they drank and ate on golden and silver vessels. They became hedonists and party animals and drinkers, and right? That the Bothusians became orgiastic monsters, that Sadukim became run my own life, deny the truth of Torah, deny the truth of the oral law, and say, we define what halacha is, and we'll define halacha in such a way that it is convenient to us. And you see in the generations following Antiginos, the Tzedukim, the Sadducees, arise from Tzadok, the student of Antiginos. The Bothusians arise from Bothus, the student of Antiginos. They heard his Mishna and said, if there's no reward, if we're not going to get paid, if you're not going to promise us ease, we don't want anything to do with it. Right? We're out of here. Antiginos Socho says, you can't be that guy. You can't serve and say, on condition I get what I want, I'm with you. Right? Because that's not a relationship. That's a transaction. And he finishes by saying, let the fear of heaven be upon you. You have to recognize what's fear. Right? Fear is the recognition that there's something that's precious to you and it's at risk based on your choices and your actions. Right? He says the two approaches to connecting to God is first is recognize that you do His will because you want to be connected to Him. And second, the fear of heaven is to recognize that what you have that's precious, this connection to Him, is at risk. If you make bad choices, if you push Him away, if you choose to become corrupt, you can destroy that connection. So you have to first want it for its own sake, and second, you have to recognize that it's at risk, and that risk arises from your choices. So Antiginos Socho says, here's how to serve God. Serve God for the sake of the connection. You're not going to get everything you want in this world. And your choices are going to matter. The connection you have is going to be based on what you build in this world and into the next world. Good Shabbos. Or Shavua Tov, one of the two.